call to order at 4:15. Flag salute. Mr. Joe, you'll lead us off, please.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 3, approval of emergency session agenda.
So moved.
A first by Mr. Gracia and a second by Mr. Hurtado. All those in favor?
Aye.
For public comment regarding agenda items, excuse me.
Do you want to read the?
Oh, excuse me. Members of the public who wish to address the board on a matter that's not listed on the emergency session agenda must do so at the regularly scheduled meeting of the board. Members of the public may comment on any item listed on the emergency session agenda. Members of the public who wish to speak prior to the board's consideration of an item on the posted emergency session agenda must complete the appropriate request to speak card and indicate the item number to be addressed.
No public comment.
Okay, no public comment. Item 5, respond to COVID-19, approval and adoption of authorization of superintendent to take necessary actions to prepare and respond effectively to the novel coronavirus COVID-19.
So good afternoon, NVUSD community and to the NVUSD Board of Education. I appreciate the school board being able to gather this afternoon for an emergency special session. Given the circumstances that our community, our state, our nation, our world have been facing around coronavirus over the course of the last couple of weeks, we all know that this situation has had tremendous impact on communities at large in a variety of ways. The challenge of COVID-19 does include or impose, better stated, does impose challenges to district operations. But most importantly, as the superintendent of schools here in the Napa Valley Unified School District, my primary concern and priority is the safety and health of all of our children and our staff. And so given my team, which includes my assistant superintendents who have been working on this over the course of the last 24 or 48 hours with me, along with my full cabinet team of directors who oversee the various departments, and even over the course of the last couple of days engaging our principals and assistant principals on the issues of health and safety, the issues of ensuring access to learning if and when our schools were to close, and then also just understanding the impact on district operations if we were to come to learn that there is a contamination here in Napa County. The request today is for the school board to pass a resolution that provides me as a superintendent and or any of my designees to take necessary actions to prepare and respond effectively to COVID-19. Part of our preparation and our response to the virus is I, as superintendent, along with my executive senior team, are recommending to the school board that we enact a temporary closure of schools, that this closure would begin on March the 16th, effective on Monday, and that the closure would end on, I'm sorry, I lost my date. April, is it Friday? April 3rd, thank you. Friday, April 3rd. The cycle of those 3 weeks will then connect to our spring break. So it does mean that the school district essentially for a 4-week period will not be open. There will be lots of questions around the implications of this, and I understand that. I want to let you know that my team and I take a school closure very, very seriously. And so we have been working diligently over the course of the last 24 hours to prepare for all of the operational implications that this decision would require. And we also, we also just want to recognize that we understand the impact on our community. We know that it is tremendously challenging Potentially for many of our families, if there is no school, we understand that many of our families may find themselves in a difficult situation with childcare, and having their children at home for such an extended period of time with such short notice. So we do want to recognize that. But given the current state of affairs, safety and the health of our children and employees is our absolute first priority. And with the current outbreak and spread of the virus and just the school closures that are happening up and down the state of California, from LA Unified, which has approximately 700,000 students, San Diego Unified, many of the Bay Area districts, districts here in Solano County and in Sacramento County, all enacting closures. We believe that passing this resolution and taking this action this afternoon, given the set of conditions that we're facing, position us to proactively make sure that we are, paying attention to health and safety of our students, while also being able to prepare sort of on our, with us in the driver's seat of the car around all of the operational implications that the virus could be causing in a community if and when there were more of a spread here in Napa County. So we feel that this decision will contribute to containment and prevention. That is our assessment. And, we've had lots of discussions with Napa County Public Health. We want to thank them for all of their collaboration and time. I also want to thank all of my colleague partner superintendents up Valley, Dr. Nemko, the Napa County Office of Education. It's tricky. We're all of different size. We're an organization that serves approximately 16,700 students, a couple thousand employees, and me and my team have to engage in decision-making that cues up to that reality. And so, given those circumstances, we are asking the school board to see the resolution. That we believe that COVID-19, to see the resolution, review the resolution, pass the resolution today. We do believe it impairs public health and safety and creates an emergency situation for the district. And we also are asking for the authority to close the schools from March 16th to April 13th specifically. We will revisit that at a later date over the course of the next couple weeks and assess the appropriateness of reopening the schools after this extended period of the school closure. And that during this time that the district employees will be considered on call. We know there'll be lots of questions around that, but after the board takes action this afternoon, if and when you approve the resolution, we have a plan in place. Our HR team has been working closely with all supervisors, principals, department heads around what the implications are for our employees. We are asking for authorization to grant compensation without loss of sick leave to our employees during the term of the school closure and in the event of a formal quarantine. And so, those are the key asks. And then, of course, I'm also asking that I am given the authority to take all necessary actions. What's been really, really challenging for myself and my team is the pace of the evolution of the circumstances. You have a meeting in the morning and a couple hours later, things have changed so dramatically that you find yourself having to quickly pivot. I think I've demonstrated over the course of the last 22 months or so that it's really important for me to engage the school board, obviously, in all of our decision making and keep lines of communication open with the school board. But of course, through this resolution, I'm just providing me the authority to move quickly on any actions that are connected to COVID-19 so that I can, again, make sure that our students, our employees are healthy and safe, and that we're making the best and right decisions for them as this really challenging circumstance unfolds. If you would have ever asked me if I would be navigating and managing school operations amidst a pandemic, I wouldn't even have believed it. So there are extraordinary circumstances. The last thing I'll say before I toss to the board members is I really, really, I need to thank my assistant superintendents for their hard work. We have been working, 16 to 18 hours days as this situation continues to unfold over the course of the last few weeks. My full cabinet that's been kind of the front line around our departments, that while executive cabinet, our assistant superintendents have been trying to navigate the decision making and working closely with our public relations firm and our communications team. They've been really holding down the fort with our departments, and so I want to honor them for doing that over the course of the last difficult 5 days. And then I have an extraordinary shout out to our principals and our assistant principals who have been so responsive and so willing to receive any of the directives from the district office, and then, with an incredibly positive attitude, spirit of collaboration, ensure that their students at their specific school sites are healthy and safety, and that life has been going on for them productively. And also holding, the emotions around this. We have a lot going on in the district, and then you layer the pressures of something like COVID-19. They've done an extraordinary job of just being anchors for their school sites, for all of the employee groups that work there, from their certificated staff to their support staff. So I also, lastly, I could not move at the pace that we need to move in these extraordinary circumstances if we did not have the incredible collaboration of our union, our collective bargaining unit leaders. So I want to personally thank Gail Young from NVEA, Edgar Ventura from CSEA, and Leslie Walder for NAPS for being available as we consider these very intense decisions that we know impact the employee groups that you represent. So thank you very much for your support, your collaboration, and your contributions to our thinking as we execute on a series of very difficult decisions. So with that, I present to you the resolution, and I'll leave it to our board president to facilitate any conversation or questions.
Can we see the resolution up on the screen, since we don't have the copy?
It's attached to the item.
I don't have my laptop with me.
If anyone has any comments, right now it's the time while Elba's reading it over right now.
So I think that we all sort of realize what a difficult situation that we're in with this coronavirus, and that really the best we can do is try to control how quickly it spreads. And so I do believe that closing the schools will be an important step in order to slow the spread of the virus, because that's really all we can do at this point, is just hope to slow the spread so that our local health institutions don't become overwhelmed. That's what we're sort of aiming for here, and that's why this is an important step that we're taking today. Having said that, I am concerned about the district's business, that we are forced by other legal timelines to comply with. And so I guess my question is, those don't go away. And so is the central administration going to continue to operate, or how is that going to work?
Yeah, thank you for that question, Trustee Gracia. Yes, so all NVUSD district offices, for example, will be closed to the public. However, the work that my team and I did over the course of the last couple of days is we've outlined what the essential services are, and then what are some of the essential functions and tasks that need to be executed on despite this closure due to the virus. And so, for example, we need to pay our employees. So a group from, obviously a targeted group from our business services team, we need to execute on that critical essential function. Myself and the assistant superintendents will be available. And then many of the employees will be everybody will be sort of in a state of being on call. So as district business unfolds over the course of the next 3 or 4 weeks, the majority of employees will be home. But if a need emerges over the course of the next 3 or 4 weeks that we need to execute on, the expectation is that our employees will be on call, and they'll be able to, we'll work with, closely HR will work with HR will work closely with department managers to have those employees come in. So we are still planning on conducting, for example, the March 26th board meeting. We still will have construction management, for example. We do have construction projects that are rolling and aren't stopping necessarily because of COVID-19. So Mike Pearson, and as our Assistant Soup of Operational Services, will be working with the construction management team, for example. And so, yes, critical essential services will continue to be implemented that are absolutely necessary to the district's business and functioning.
As I pointed out to somebody who sent me an email, I've sort of drawn the conclusion that schools are intertwined with life in ways that a lot of our other institutions aren't. So where did we land on the topic of feeding our student body? We've got upwards of 40–50% who are getting lunch and or breakfast. So it might help to, because this will go out on the record, and I hope the Register picks us up at some point, because I assume we informed them that we were meeting this.
We did.
I figured you did, but what falls into essential services?
Yep.
So,
So for food services, I've already identified payroll as an essential services. Some of our construction, food services definitely falls into the area of essential and critical services. So our food services programs will be providing a grab-and-go lunch model. And we are identifying 3 school sites, and that will be food for any student needing a lunch during the quarantine period of the next 3 weeks. More information on the specific times and locations will be posted. Our food services team, under the direction of Assistant Superintendent Mike Pearson, are working on all of those details right now. And so as soon as they're available, we'll be communicating them to all of our parents via our major communication channels.
how do you want to handle communications from the community? Because we can't anticipate all of the possible questions. They're going to attempt to reach out to board members. Do we have an FAQ, a set of talking points, or we redirect them to someone here at the Ed Center? I don't want to add to the workload and the chaos.
Sure.
But at the same time, we can anticipate workload and chaos.
Yeah, so all the questions are already coming. Even before calling the special board meeting, all of the questions, comments, and opinions have been coming. And so that's just part of me and my team's daily work. We've been holding, a couple of things. So a communication will go out this afternoon, assuming the board takes action. We will be continuously updating the website. And if we start to see a series or trend around frequently asked questions, that is a strategy that we use. So including some sort of an FAQ is definitely a possibility on the district's landing page around web page on the district's website about COVID-19. And then, our principals will be potentially continuing to hold. We've been holding virtual remote meetings with our principals. We had our second one today. We have our third one already scheduled for Monday morning. So we'll continue to update our principals and, provide them the key talking points. And so, a little bit of it is a dance of us proactively communicating via the website, receiving and responding to some of the inquiries ourselves that come here to the central office. But there's also the strategy that we use, which is fielding it back to the principal and having the principal deal directly with any of their parents that may have any questions.
Okay. I think I'm going to support the motion because the value the board brings is really at the strategic long-term level. We typically deal with issues that are 3, 5, 10 years out. The day-to-day tactical, hourly changing stuff is something we really rely on staff and the employees. Because backseat driving by the 7 of us doesn't really work out well. We're not particularly skilled in that area. It's not where we add value. So I intend to support the resolution. As with all things NVUSD, I'm fascinated at how we get the work done, and I'm just, it's one thing to shut us all down. It's another thing on the process to bring us back up, and whether it's, you know, a rolling start, or we all come back on X day and everybody goes back to what they were doing before, whether that's extracurriculars. We've got a bunch of fundraisers that got put on hold that are going to affect our various schools, PTOs that were doing things. You know, so I see everybody doing the right things and behaving themselves by and large, and that's all great. But I also fear what happens when we take our foot off the brake and what that looks like. And it's quite possible you got 3 weeks to figure that out. So, you know, I'm not looking for a response now, but that's the piece that fascinates me from a totally nerdy
No,
point.
reopening will be a process, in itself, and one that we'll start to work on right away.
Are the other districts in a similar boat, or, because you've
The
been,
Napa County, districts in Napa County?
yeah,
They are entertaining the idea of closure. So, you know, just a slightly different reality. They're much smaller. The operational implications are different, just again, because of size.
yeah.
But they are, you know, I don't want to speak for them, but they're in the process of considering all options. I think as the, you know, most of California public school children are going to be enrolled in a school district at this point. Once LA Unified goes and the big ones go, we're at a majority number right now. So they're grappling with all of that.
Okay, thank you.
I wanted to, well, first of all, thank you to everyone. There's not enough thanks to really spread around the room with the superintendent and the team and all the NVUSD staff and our families. I think just putting my hat on as a board member, as Trustee Shunk mentioned, there's, you know, we are dependent very much on the expertise of probably, you know, thousands of years if we add it all up here, of experience in the room to really, you know, show us the path to go here. The other hat that I wear is, of course, listening throughout the community and the many meetings that I participate in, what I'm hearing and what can NVUSD potentially be part of, right? Because we are weaved in everything that happens in our community in so many ways. So to hear that we have that we have a plan about food, I think that's fantastic. As you know, I'm always pushing for bringing others to the table because it's a community concern. It's a community, it requires a community to be involved, not just NVUSD, and nor should the responsibility just fall on NVUSD. We have the county, we have the other school districts, we have community-based organizations, we have so many organizations that are involved that can help us really strategically navigate this space. So I want to encourage that, and that NVUSD it doesn't have to fall on us to organize it, but we can certainly convene. I think we have a strong opportunity to be able to convene those key stakeholders so that we can find collective solutions that can help. And I'm thinking more of our families, of our students, and the area of food, right? So I know we have our plan, but we also know that the FRCs help individuals apply for, I'm imagining, who knows if the state is going to do an emergency CalFresh, emergency food stamps program. So we want to get the word out there. CanV does all of our food banks and distributions. Salvation Army is super helpful when it comes to emergency and disasters. Our own Health and Human Services at the county, the department that does self-sufficiency services division, leads the CalFresh food stamps program, as well as Medi-Cal. So those entities, to me, I wonder how can we bring them to the table? And I think with thinking of our families and our students in mind, I think we can do that. And that's not to say, not to add more work to what we have, that's not the intention, but I think with that, we can be more effective and more efficient in how we go about addressing the needs of our community. Also, in addition to childcare, I get that question a lot, like, what's the school district going to do to childcare? What are they going to do about that? Right, like that, and the answer to that, to me, it shouldn't just come from NVUSD. Again, it should come from a collective effort of the community to address that. When the fires were happening, the community organizations active in disaster played an intricate role in our community to get the word out about resources. And so I think they should be convened and play in that role. First Five, that looks into children 0 to 5, right? I know that a lot of our kiddos, our students are not in the 0 to 5 age range, but we have lots of families who have kids in that age range. We have a lot of staff who have kids in that age range. And so CRC is another organization that helps with childcare. And so if we're going to have our staffs and in our community doctors and so on, I think we can collectively come together. Boys and Girls Club, right? They opened up when they had events like this. So what do they think? Of course, our Napa County Office of Education, our districts up Valley. So I think we can be part of this collective message and have a unified voice as we go out there. And NVUSD can be part of that unified voice. And help spread that. And I also know that, just like it happened with disasters with the fires, there are a lot of mental health issues. And so what are the phone numbers for our families to call? What's the connection for that? And I think we have that. We absolutely have this in our community. It's just a matter of bringing that together. And I think that we could be that convener. And have that opportunity to just collectively look at that together. And also for mental health, right? HHS, Mentis, Aldea, these aren't unknown names to us. These are partners that we've had, and so they're not unknown to us. I think it's just we have an opportunity in front of us to do that. And then when it comes to communication, I appreciate that about frequently asked questions, our websites. I'm also thinking of our parent liaisons. We can't meet the people, in person, but we can certainly make lots of phone calls, right? We can certainly connect with individuals about those resources. And also video, when we did the video when the fires happened, it was such an amazing way to get the word out. So how amazing would it be to bring all these collective information and get the word out? One of the videos hit 28,000 hits on YouTube, both English and Spanish, and that can really, it can diminish the panic, it can diminish the uncertainty, it can level the anxiety, and I think it could really send out a really strong message. And again, it's not intended for the school district to do it, right? I think we're part of that solution, and we have fantastic expertise in the room that can allow that to happen. So that's what I'm hearing from the community, and that's what I want to share here in the room. And I think that, obviously I'm looking around the room and we're tired, but we can do this.
Yeah, and I do, thank you, Trustee Gonzalez Mendez. I do want to say it's a real struggle. We're in the business of educating students and ensuring them access to teaching and learning every day, and all the amazing programs that our school district provides to our students. And, we become the fabric of families' day-to-day lives. It is a really big decision to close schools. It is not an easy one. I'm a mom. I completely understand that. But I also understand, being the daughter of two working parents who struggled with childcare and food and all kinds of challenges in growing up, that I do recognize the particular impact that I think this virus in general is going to have to our more socioeconomically disadvantaged populations across the country and around the globe. But if we get really local here, I think the understanding the impacts economically that many of our socioeconomically disadvantaged families are going to experience because of COVID-19, because of loss of business and whatnot, and the role that may play with employers if they have employment insecurity issues already, and then us layering on potentially a child care issue onto families. I do not take that decision lightly, but again, it's doing that sort of cost-benefit analysis around our current assessment of health and safety, the desire to really decontaminate our schools if they're, cleaning and decontamination procedures over the course of the next 3 to 4 weeks. Because I think what Trustee Gracia said is at this point, we're talking about containment of the spread of the virus. And so we think that this is the appropriate decision right now, but I do want to let the board know that my team and I did go through all of those impacts. So I appreciate the call to action. We are the school district. We're big. We have a multi-million-dollar budget. I understand everybody perceiving that the school district can solve all of the problems from the food security issue to education, to what kids are doing, after school, on the weekends, in the summer. But we do have a finite set of resources, and our primary goal is to educate. Right now, we have a barrier to that because of this virus, although I anticipate questions around some of the ways that we're going to continue to support ongoing learning during the temporary closure. But I do think that it's important for all the partners that you sort of called out. When we enact a closure like this, it does provide the opportunity for partners to rise and close the opportunity gaps that we do know exist in our community, particularly for our historically marginalized community. So I appreciate that call to action. And in addition to preparing for reopening, in response to Trustee Shunk's comments, another piece is how do we think about curating resources so that our families are aware of them during this very, very difficult time.
Yep. And as you said, our business is education. Sometimes, we deal with so many other issues that sometimes I worry about, losing the focus there. But in case anybody is watching in YouTube land, it should be noted that all the teachers in the school district worked today putting together learning plans. I guess we don't like calling them distance learning or remote. Someone was talking about continuity, but basically—
We like continuity of learning.
We like continuity, but keeping things happening for our students, giving them the opportunity. I just want to thank all the teachers who did that. It's a big work. It's a big job, and I personally feel there is no substitute for the caring teacher in the classroom with the children, but we are doing our best. We are going to give an opportunity for our kids to get educated. And, it's tough. And thank you so much. My colleagues are very kind-hearted people. Thanks for remembering the kids who might not have enough to eat.
Trustee Water, in response, is the board okay with me just allowing Assistant Superintendent Mary Ann Vias to speak to what is going to be done in terms of
Yes.
the learning resources for our students over the course of the next 3 weeks?
Thank you for the opportunity. I too want to thank the teachers who today spent the entire day
Yes.
working together to develop the lesson plans for the 2
Hooray.
weeks. We provided some guidelines and some resources for our teachers to work with throughout the day. And essentially, it's the new phrase you've just named, continuity of learning, is how it's being talked about in the guidance that comes out of the CDC and some of the CDE documents. And it's in asking us to consider how do students continue to learn, continue to engage in learning activities when they don't have their teacher with them. And so that's what our teachers did today. We have a blend of online and offline lessons. We are in the midst of now maybe thinking about the students and families who don't have internet access or don't have the ability to print documents. And so on Monday, we'll be delivering printed packets to sites, and sites will participate in that as well. But jointly with district office and sites, we'll be providing that resource for those families that need it. But teachers were asked to create lessons that could be done online or download files and print files that students could use. And there's a lot of, I've seen a few of them, and they have a lot of really good resources where they're sending a student to see a video, or they're sending them to see something that's being made on YouTube that they are then asked to recreate. So a lot of really interesting lessons, and we'll learn a lot from this experience. We will learn more about what it takes to create opportunities for learning that are independent in nature and do not rely solely on the work, the interaction between teacher and student every day. But I agree, nothing replaces what happens in the classroom between teachers and students when they're with each other. But we can't be with each other, and we have to prepare for when that's the case. Thank you.
Marianne, could you tell me like how quick that would start for the lesson planning? Sorry.
It is in, it's in the Google Drive right now. So across the day, what we asked teachers to do was to load up their files, their lessons, into a shared drive. We have that by school, by grade level, or by content. So for elementary, it would be kindergarten, first, second, et cetera. And for secondary schools, it's by subject area. So at the high school level, Math 1, Math 2, Math 3, et cetera. So there are lessons for all of the content areas and all the grade levels at elementary. And they are specific to a teacher. It could be that, and probably did happen, that PLCs, groups of teachers who teach the similar course, the same course, built the lessons together. And so we will have the Math 1 teachers at Napa High building the lessons together. And that will be a common set of experiences that all of the students in Math 1 would experience across the time of the closure. At the secondary school, at the secondary level, more of our teachers use Google Classroom. It's a platform where a variety of things happen. Teachers deliver content to students, and students return content to teachers. And it's set up to do it from webinars that teachers film themselves, lectures that they can video, to just documents that a teacher loads that a student will download and then respond to, react to, or print and work on. So at the secondary level, many of our students will be using Google Classroom. At elementary, I think it's more paper-based with maybe a little bit of online work. So Monday is when it starts to get delivered.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Thank
so we are identifying in the parent communication that families will receive more information early next week. So I do want to just manage everyone's expectations. The pace of this has been fast and furious. And so to be fully prepared, we could have never anticipated that this would have advanced as quickly as it did. So, some soft start around this stuff and then some refinement along the way. What we'll have to leverage is communication, right? So communication will have to be absolutely critical. But our teachers did an extraordinary amount of work today, and that it will really help us. And so it positions us to be able to get some materials, ready for launching next week. It may not all be available first thing 8 a.m. Monday morning, but we will be sure that students have access to resources early next week. The other thing about next week, our campuses will be open on Monday. Our goal is for the campuses, given that we're having to have this board meeting just because of timing so late on a Friday afternoon, that Monday, March 16th, all campuses will be accessible for families and employees to gather any needed supplies or personal items between the items at 8 and 3 o'clock. So we've given our principals that directive to have campuses open so that people can access their things before the 4-week closure.
I have a question about facilities. So,
I did too.
so open on Monday, but then, as the students are learning with their material, so are libraries closed then, or I know we have family resource centers at some of the sites that may not be in the gated area, but outside. I'm just trying to picture if it's just a full-on, or are we also taking into consideration, based on the circumstances, what we may have to.
Yeah, so that was a big discussion and debate for the team, and I'll tell you our where we are in terms of our operational decision around that. The campus facilities will be open on Monday for the reason that I described, not for any other reason. No one can drop off kids or anything there. So it's about picking up belongings, and then we are shutting down the school facilities after that. So we had discussion and debate about having some parts of the campuses open, but the minute you do that, it's a whole domino effect of potential security issues. Do we have substantial coverage? Who's managing that? What does that look like? So we went ahead and we figure having clarity is better. And so we're going to go with the clarity of effective Tuesday morning, all NVUSD school facilities will be closed.
A facilities question I had and staff, is there any staff that will stay behind to do any cleaning or sanitizing of classrooms? And then what are we doing to protect our employees?
Yes, thank you, President Martin, for allowing me an opportunity to speak to that. The operational managers will be meeting on Monday to develop a plan to attack that exact problem that you have brought up to us. But yes, the goal will be by the time that school resumes, everything will be clean and pristine.
So on a facilities question, Bent, I guess, we have 4 weeks where there will be no students on campus. Are there any projects that we can do?
So we will be discussing that particular topic, but part of the issue has to do that we, as a school district, if this resolution is approved, we are saying to our employees, all of our employees, to stay home. So we will be doing things that are essential that need to be completed, but some of the routine stuff may not. Depending upon the thing, we may have some routine things we have to do, but if there's nothing that really that's essential doesn't need to be done, we're going to ask those folks to stay home.
Yeah, we are not leveraging it as an opportunity like to advance the equivalent of what you would do in summer projects, because right now, again, our main driver is the health and safety of our employees and our kids. Although, then we have to have the caveat. But to your initial question, there are some critical services. We do believe that it is, given the circumstances, employees of school districts in a state of emergency are emergency workers. So part of what does need to get accomplished over this 4-week period, given the circumstances of COVID-19, is decontamination and deep cleaning of our schools, given the nature of the emergency. So we see that as a critical need. So some staff will be called upon to deliver on that critical need, but overwhelmingly, the majority stance is that our employees are at home, essentially, quarantined. When I say quarantined, they're staying home and getting paid. So, with compensation.
Any other questions or comments? I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
I have a first by Mr. Gracia and a second by Ms. Water. All those in favor? Okay. Aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Aye.
I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
A first by Mr. Shunk and a second by Ms. Gonzalez Mares. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.